Welcome to Goshen Prepping. Thank you for joining us. Are you ready? Our government wants you to be ready. Even though it's funny how they crack down on preppers, they actually still have sites like, Ready.gov to be able to get us prepared for any disaster. I mean, let's admit it. The government wants you to think that they're there for you, but they put these websites out because they know that they cannot get to you, sometimes for over a week, in case there's an emergency. So I want to take a few minutes and look through this list, kind of like critique it, and put my 2 cents in. Let's jump right to it. Yep, Ready.gov. They actually do have a few good things on here. You can actually surf through and look at it. But when they talk about an emergency kit, here we go. All right, first thing they say, water, 1 gallon per person per day for several days. Absolute truth. Up here in the middle of nowhere, Michigan, we've gone without power for a couple weeks at a time. And all we have is a well, which requires electricity. We didn't have a hand pump back then. And so when they tell you 1 gallon per person per day, that is absolute bare minimum. And I really mean it, bare minimum. If you're doing that, you feel dehydrated. You're like, oh, I need more water. So at least 1 gallon per person per day. I always say actually get one of these drums, these nice 55-gallon drums. 55 gallons, this will actually last quite a while. And I'll put a link for this as well as other things below in case you want to get these. Number 2, food, at least several days supply of non-perishable. I always recommend canned food. It stores very well, stores practically indefinitely. It's already prepared, especially if you get things like chili for it, in your cans, for example. It's good stuff to have. It's really easy to use, eat, and everything. It's already prepared for you. Battery powered or hand crank radio, specifically one with an NOAA weather radio and tone alert. Yeah, and there's a bunch on the market. I like this one. I'll put a link below for it. It has all kinds of options between different types of radios, weather radio bands. It actually has a siren alert. You can actually crank it, and with a battery inside, if I can get this off, you can actually charge up USB devices with it. It not only cranks, but actually has solar power to it as well. And you can actually even put other batteries in it to go above and beyond the crank batteries already in it too. This one really has pretty much everything. A flashlight. And I would say get a whole host of different types of flashlights, mind you. Flashlights that simply take the AAA batteries, those really tiny, almost disposable flashlights. Some of the bigger ones, possibly USB charged flashlights. I always recommend too, have at least a few of these crank ones. Now this crank one also has solar as well, but these are great because that way you don't, if you completely run out of batteries or really in a bad situation, you can crank it and have everything you need to be able to see in the dark. So try to have some of these crank ones and put them in a kit. First aid kit, I'll put a link for one below. It actually has everything you need. Extra batteries, that's good. A whistle to signal for help. Yep, I'll put a link for that as well. A dust mask, and I'm sure at this point you have lots and lots of extra masks laying around. Those masks will be perfect. Go ahead and put them in a kit because if you actually have like a building collapse, remember the video shots of 9/11? You can see all that dust in the air. You do not want to breathe that stuff in. So having a mask is helpful. Plastic sheeting and duct tape. I get that stuff from Harbor Freight. Moist towelettes, garbage bags, plastic ties. Instead of moist towelettes, honestly, we always just keep big packs of baby wipes, even in our backpacks. It's actually much cheaper in the long run. Wrench or pliers to turn off utilities. I would recommend a whole bunch of tools, a little toolbox. A manual can opener for food. Oh yeah. Local maps. Local maps are the key. And it's interesting that they put on there because they don't want you to depend on GPS. GPS may not be here in those situations. The military, by the way, can actually shut it down so you and I can't use it. Keep that in mind. But just go down to your local rest stop, travel tourism area, and they always give out maps for free. Go ahead and pick one or two and become acquainted with it. Then lastly, a cell phone with charger and a backup battery. Personally, I like these backup batteries because they're solar powered. They can actually keep your phone going. But there it is. There's the list from Ready.gov. There's more stuff on there too if you actually want to check it out. I'll put a link below. But the rest of the stuff actually comes from the CDC. And let's take a quick look at it. We won't spend a lot of time with this one, but mask, again, of course, CDC wants you to have masks. Prescription meds, non-prescription meds, glasses, infant supplies, like formula and stuff, pet supplies, don't forget your pets. Cash or traveler's check, always have some cash with you. Family documents, which right now I'm compiling a video that actually lists exhaustively all the family documents you might want to have. Sleeping bags and blankets, change of clothes, sturdy shoes, I would say extra socks as well, extra socks. Fire extinguisher, matches and waterproof container. I would actually just get some disposable lighters. Feminine hygiene, mess kits or something you can use to eat with. Paper and pencil, especially for leaving notes. And books, games, puzzles, activities for children and adults too. A deck of cards is a great thing for adults. Okay, I hope this helps. Again, I'll put a link below for many of these items, but I'm sure you already have them too. What would you add to this list? Because I know there's more things as well. Put it in the description below. And thanks for joining us.